Emily didn't sleep that night. The stranger's words burned in her mind. Day 1. What would her day 1 look like? By sunrise, she had made a decision that scared her more than the eviction notice. She would write her first book. But without money, confidence, or even an idea of where to start, the path seemed insurmountable. One step at a time, she whispered to herself. Her first step? Writing 1 sentence a day, no matter what. The first morning was harder than Emily thought. She sat at her kitchen table, her son playing with toy cars on the floor, and stared at the flashing cursor on her laptop. Her inner critic was deafening. You'll fail. This is pointless. But then she typed out just 5 words. She had never given up. It had no context, no plan, no real story. But it existed. And for the first time in months, so did hope. At the soup kitchen where she volunteered in exchange for meals, she found hidden mentors, people who saw her potential even when she couldn't. A retired English teacher offered to read her work. A software developer donated an old writing program. Slowly, painfully, her sentences grew into paragraphs, and her paragraphs stretched into chapters. She often wrote in cafes, using the sound of bustling chatter to drown out her doubts. The cafe owner, noticing her perseverance, started offering her a free coffee every morning. "You inspire me," he'd said once, placing the steaming mug beside her. Those 3 words planted another seed she didn't realize she'd been watering all along. She wasn't just writing for herself anymore. Her story might help others, too. But the journey wasn't without storms. Her nights were sleepless as she skipped meals to save pennies for her son. She faced rejection after rejection when she sent initial drafts to potential publishers. One particularly cruel email read, "This story lacks depth and emotion. Perhaps you should consider another career." Tears soaked her keyboard, and for a week she couldn't bring herself to write. But then her son brought her a drawing he'd made, a superhero cape billowing in the wind with the words, "Mom, my hero," written in crayon at the bottom. And just like that, Emily remembered why she'd started in the first place. For him, for herself, and for every person who had ever thought they weren't enough. 2 years later, on the anniversary of that fateful night under the streetlight, Emily stood in the corner of a brightly lit bookstore, nervously clutching the hardcover of her first published novel, Falling Forward, A Story of Rising. To her shock, the small venue overflowed with people, not just strangers, but familiar faces. The cafe owner, the retired English teacher, the software developer, and even the stranger who'd uttered those life-changing words. As she signed books and thanked the smiling crowd, her eyes met her son's. He had proud tears on his cheeks. In that moment, she didn't feel victorious because of the book sales or applause. She felt victorious because she had shown her son and herself what could be built from perseverance, sentence by sentence. Emily learned that what often looks like rock bottom is actually the foundation for building something extraordinary. Her story became a testament that dreams are not defined by the size of the steps you take, but by the courage to keep stepping, no matter how small they seem. Her journey didn't end there. The book went on to touch thousands of lives, inspiring not only aspiring authors, but anyone who had doubted their ability to start over. As Emily often said during her speeches, "Remember, it's not about being ready. It's about deciding you're worth it." And so, as her son joined her on stage during her book tour, wearing his superhero cape from that old drawing, she beamed at the audience, reiterating the same words she now believed wholeheartedly. One day, or day 1, choose today, and watch how your life unfolds.